I'm just gonna ram my car right into that guy. I don't even care, right? A way of getting back, right? So that's the immediate reaction. And a lot of people have that same kind of reaction, that visceral reaction when they're trading. So you want to really keep that in check. That's like the worst of them all. Okay, besides like greed, fear, regret, and hope. Exactly. You don't want to focus on getting back of any of your losses. Okay? That's a finite thing, right? That is one piece of the puzzle. Okay? In quantitative finance, like a lot of people rush like getting a product or getting a system to market. And that's because they realize like this system is garbage that I've created, and um you know that system is garbage, and I've spent all of this time, right, like doing this one thing, and now like I have to just throw it away. And that makes them kind of vengeful in this sense, because everything they do thereafter is just rushed and chaos. Okay? So, this is a really important emotion, vengeance, because it is probably the most visceral for most people. Okay? Maybe for some of you, you're Buddha like and you just don't care, or you take a copious amount of drugs, or you smoke, or whatever it is. Like, the thing is like for most people, this type of venge, and it could be in anything, it doesn't have to be just one specific area, but you all should understand what I mean by vengeance. Okay? It's very visceral. It's not something you can really fake. Okay? So, and some people take this vengeance kind of feeling and they invert it in a way of which makes them, superstars. Okay? Some people don't like being told, like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. So their vengeance is being successful. Okay? But understand that it's like drinking salt water to some degree, okay? You're never going to quench the thirst, okay? Really understand that. So, and in trading, you're never going to make back the money you lost. You're never going to make back the time that you spent doing something. Just deal with that, okay? Breathe that out, breathe that in, breathe that out, and just understand like that's part of the game. Losing money is part of the game. It is the opposite of making money, right? And we just went over how there are no two separate events. Like, two separate events don't exist. There's no delineation. It is this thing happened and this thing also must happen at the same time somewhere. Okay? And that's hard for people to understand. I make money when I make money in the market, guess what? Someone's losing money in the market. Right? I mean, that's subjectively what happens. So you can see how I kind of like construed all of this to like the market is a mini universe in a lot of ways. Okay? So, we talked about vengeance. That's kind of the big one that I really like to kind of just highlight before we talk about these other ones, because these other ones are always talked about in the market. So, you have four big emotions, and the fifth one would be an aggregate of all of these combined. Okay, so vengeance is usually an aggregate, meaning it is a sublimation of these four emotions that people kind of go through. Okay, and you'll feel these emotions in normal life, but these are four emotions that generally transcend most people when they're trading. So, greed, the desire to possess wealth, goods, or objects of abstract value with the intention to keep it for oneself, far beyond what dictates of basic survival and comfort. It is applied to a markedly high desire for and pursuit of wealth, status, and power. This idea of greed, okay, is proliferated in the industry in which we live. Okay, this is lifestyle marketing. This is people showing off like all of their shit that they have. Okay, it is playing on that emotion of greed. Okay, And so, no wonder people who get into trading and see that kind of marketing lose all of their money, because literally you can't be greedy in the market. Okay? Like, you can't do it because the market is only going to give so many things and so many opportunities either every day, or every year. And you can't be greedy on your positions. Okay? But I mean, I think it's kind of a fallacy when you see someone do lifestyle marketing and then they talk about emotions of greed. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Okay. Hope is a feeling of expectation, desire for a certain thing to happen. This is Hope is a fundamental aspect of an emotion, a survival emotion in the outside world, but it has, again, almost no place in trading. Okay. Fear is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain. Fear was designed by the brain to protect you. Okay. So, however, we're able to take fear on a deeper level in trading and kind of make it to this thing, this object that doesn't really exist. Okay? There's only two things that can happen in the market. You're either going to make money or you're going to lose money. And people are fearful of losing money, but if you don't understand what I've been saying this whole time, that winning implies losing, okay? And losing implies winning. So you can't escape that. And if you're fearful of that, if you're fearful of losing money, then don't trade, okay? Because you're never going to make it. You have to understand why you're afraid. Yeah, it's scary to lose money, but at the end of the day, money is just paper, okay? You will, at least in trading, you won't die, okay? You're not going into like a dangerous situation. I'm not putting you in a pit of snakes, or I'm not putting you in combat or anything like that, okay? It's a very low key fear. That's what my point is in comparison to other things. But you just need to understand like what's going on inside of you, in your side of your little monkey brain, okay? That says, hey, I'm afraid. And if that starts to alter your consciousness and your decision, you need to just stop, okay, and reevaluate yourself. Regret is generally self-inflicted, and this is feeling sad, repentant, disappointed over something, okay? So let's dive into greed a little bit more. So there's an old saying on Wall Street that pigs get slaughtered. All right, this is generally referring to greedy people. Greed and trader causes them to hang on to winning positions too long, trying to get every last tick. This trait can be devastating to returns because the trader is always running the risk of getting whipsawed or blown out of his position. Greed is not easy to overcome. That's because within many of us, there seems to be an instinct to always try to do better, to try to get just a little bit more. A trader should recognize this instinct if it is present and develop trade plans based upon rational business decisions, not on what amounts to an emotional whim or potentially harmful instinct. And here's some symptoms of greed so you kind of know. You set unrealistic price targets. You don't realize profits because of them. You dwell on how much more you can make if you stay in a trade. Set price targets for the trade based on how much you fantasize about making. You ignore rules and risk management practices, and you have a very much, generally people who have this kind of mindset or fixation, I'll say, not even a mindset, as kind of get rich quick. Okay? So in the old movie, the great movie that I like, Gordon Gekko said, greed is good. Okay. And then you have Gandhi down here, which I think is very profound. And what he says simply is there's sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not enough for his greed. Okay? And this is something that some of you should print out or have next to your desk if you have kind of like, some of you have a real gambling mentality, okay? Which means you're greedy as hell. And you just need to remember that bulls make money, bears will make money, but pigs always get slaughtered. Always, always, always. Okay, fear. So traders need to understand what fear is. It's simply a natural reaction to what they perceive as a threat. In this case, perhaps to their profit or money making potential. Quantifying the fear might help, or that they may be able to better deal with fear by pondering what they are afraid of and why they are afraid of it. Also, by pondering this issue ahead of time and knowing how you may instinctively react or perceive certain things, a trader can hope to isolate and identify those feelings during a trading session and then try to focus on moving past those emotions. So, you know you are acting fearful is if you sell in a panic, regardless of price. Never want to take calculated risk. This is a big one, okay? And it is something I don't understand in people, okay? And it's maybe because my mind has always been different, but every single thing you do in life is a risk. Do you understand that? Give me a yes. Okay? Do not believe that the market is any more riskier than you walking out your front door. Okay? If you believe that there is no risk to anything that you're doing, you are completely blind. Okay? I've seen a person break their back by bending over and picking up a banana. Do you think that person knew that they were going to break their back when they bent over to pick a banana? Pick up a banana? Hell no. Okay? Everything you do is risk. Because let me tell you something. If there was no risk in life, it wouldn't be worth living. Okay? At all. And until you really understand that, the market is always going to freak you out. All right? So, calculated risk means you try to understand something and take in as many possible variations of what could happen, be comfortable with that, and just fucking do it. Okay? That's all that means. All right? A lot of people, too, on the internet, gurus, trading coaches, they all talk about emotions and stuff because they really have a condition that's called paralysis of analysis, meaning they know a subject so well, or they think they know a subject so well, that they become paralyzed and they say, why should I trade when I can just sell people garbage? Okay? All right? And a lot of traders that come to me who are brilliant, they have this quality as well. Because they think of risk in a monetary value and they say, I don't want to lose money. Then it's like, okay, then you shouldn't trade, but I want to trade. Well, you can't trade without having this opposite thing. Do you see how that's very binding? Okay. So you need to understand that the whole reason why you exist and you keep going on, because all of you have a choice whether to wake up or not. Okay. I don't want to talk about suicide or anything like that because it's very depressing. All right. But you all have a choice. And the only reason you do and you get up every single morning is because you bet on life and you think it's worth the candle at the end of the day. Okay. Because it's kind of exciting. Okay. Because even if you had, let's say you were a demigod who had control over everything that you do, you would eventually choose the life that you're currently in. Because do you know why? Because the unknown, right? The random possibility of something happening, that's kind of exciting. Deep down. You don't admit that to people. All right? Because people think you like lost and you went off the reservation. But the only reason life isn't ever worth a damn is because the game is worth the candle. Okay? The game is worth the reward, basically. All right? And in trading, this is very simplified. And this is why people love trading, because it's so simple, but it really applies to life, I think, in a lot of ways, is because at the end of the day, if you take calculated risk, if you're willing to go with the flow, if you're willing to kind of understand like two things can exist at once, and you don't really care what happens, right? You kind of just let it play out, and you are a spectator in that, right? Like you have control of how you throw the dice, but after that, you don't know what's going to happen. Okay? And that's kind of deep down to us, that's kind of exciting. Okay? So we can control the throw, but we can't control where everything is going to land thereafter. And so, you know, that's why people love trading, because it's so simple. You're either going to make money or you're going to lose money. It's so simple. And it's worth betting on, right? Because there's a probability that you could be right, right? At the end of the day. So in life, this is the same reason why people choose to go on. It's because they don't really know what's going to happen. They can strive to what they want to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay? But that kind of randomness sprinkled on everything is what keeps life, it's the spice of life, if you will. And this is very, very, very attached to the market because it's so simple, and it's like I told you, it's like a mini universe, really. And there's that kind of spice. And so, people who suffer from paralysis of analysis, it's because they don't want to take the risk. They're risk adverse people. But if they really knew that all life was risk, then it's like, what's the difference? Okay? You're still going to be intact. As long as you don't blow up all of your life savings and all of your money, you just use money that you can be like, meh. Okay? If you do that, you're never going to suffer from the fact of, you're not going to think too hard about like, oh, I could lose all my money. Because you know that. You implicitly know that. And you'll take calculated risk based on what's best for your account. But you won't be paralyzed, because you're not going to be paralyzed by fear, because you're not doing anything that's like too harmful. It's just slightly harmful, right? It's a good kind of pain. All right. But a lot of people have paralysis of analysis because it's funner to talk about something that can't hurt you than actually experiencing it. Okay. So, and I've had PhD students I've taught, and it's just like, I've literally flat out told them, I'm like, you can't trade unless you unlock your mind and you become free. Okay. Because all the words and all the jargon doesn't mean shit to the market. Doesn't. All right? You just have to do. All right? That's a completely different thing. A lot of people like to talk, and not a lot of people like to do. That's a completely different quality. Okay? And then another thing is like the fear of missing out. Okay? And I just want to stifle this one real clear. Okay? You should never fear, ever, that you've missed out on something. Okay? Never do that. I don't care if it's professional. I don't care if it's in the market. Don't do that to yourself, because you will take 1,000 trades in your lifetime. Do you understand that? Okay? 1,000. Some of you will take millions because you're just crack addict traders. Okay? There's no reason to ever fear or think that that was the once in a lifetime opportunity. And you have to get in. You have to do this. You have to stop binding yourself to that kind of, those words. You don't have to do anything. You only need to take quality setups, high probability setups every single time. Okay. And if something goes on without you, or it's something that you missed, who gives a shit? Okay. Go play video games. Go play golf. Go do something else. Because if you miss something for that day, or you didn't get what you want, who cares? You're going to have another opportunity. There are no one defining moments. Okay? It's a string of moments. It's a string of trades. Okay? It's all of those things. It's not just one thing. Okay? Okay, hope. Now, I'm never going to tell you that hope is wrong, because hope, like I told you, I think serves a purpose. The emotion of hope serves a purpose for people to push past the nonsense. Okay, push past like their current state of mind. All right. But in trading, what we mean by hope is like if you're long or you're in a position, you just don't want to say to yourself, I hope this company puts out a press release. I hope this company gets a big contract. I hope this company has great earnings. I hope the stock goes up. If you say any of those things in your mind, get out of the trade. Okay? Because you don't have a plan, you don't have a risk measurement, you're not willing to take a loss. That's clear. Okay? I hope to recoup my losses. That's another one. All right? Don't do any of those things. If the word I hope blah happens, like dot dot dot, you can't, there's nothing you can do. Now, if you're a systematic trader, meaning you get in on a specific criteria with a stop loss or whatever, and you're just letting it do its thing and you're watching it, the only thing you're watching chaos take place essentially, right? So you're watching on your screen, you got your stop loss in, you took your trade, it was automatically triggered or you entered it, whatever, it's doing its thing. You're just watching it. As long as you don't touch that, you can say to yourself, man, I hope this works out. Like that's the only thing you can say. But if you're a discretionary trader, discretionary meaning like you think you saw something like this, then if you start to say, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, you are in deep doo doo, my friend. Okay? So hope really doesn't have a place in trading. Okay? And another thing is hope, we sometimes you'll hear people say called bag holding. Okay? It may change, the terminology in the future may change of what people call this, but one thing that we can say is beauty is in the eye of the bag holder. So this means that if you're holding a position that's going against you, I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, well, it should come back, they should have good earnings, blah, 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 blah. That's because they're down on their position. So people who are bag holders in this kind of sense, they think that their bags have money. What it actually is a creepy dude holding an empty bag. Okay? So there's nothing there. And so in the other part, you have to kind of think and balance. Really, the most dangerous things are really when you're in a losing streak and you're on a winning streak. Okay? So when you're on a winning streak, you don't want to get cocky or overconfident. Now, I'm generally not one to boast, okay? But I do boast from time to time because I think that what I offer people in terms of not only education, but like on watch list and trade ideas and trade setups are so clear, so crystal clear, that it dominates every other kind of retail trader or retail guru out there, because a lot of what people teach is just nonsense and bullshit. So in some senses, I do get confident, but I never get cocky or overconfident in terms of my edge or what I'm doing. Okay. And what that means is that I don't like, my edge is only going to work up until it's not going to work anymore. Like that's really what it comes down to. And I'm never going to be like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. So it's never going to happen. You don't want to force trades just because you're on a hot streak. You got to fight the urge to think that trading is easy. Do not think you know it all. You are always one trade away from humility. Okay? There's a couple of you in this room who I know who have blown up your accounts. Okay? How fucking humbling is that? It's super humbling. Because you were on a hot streak and you got that hot hand fallacy and you blow up. So be really careful. When you're winning, just, celebrate, but also, take it down a notch. Okay? Just breathe. Just understand tomorrow's not promised. Okay? Understand that tomorrow's trade is not promised. Just think about that stuff instead of focusing on the win. Okay? Losing psychology. You gotta learn lessons from your mistakes. That's obvious. Reiterate trading rules, which we haven't gone over yet. Fight the woe is me attitude. Okay? So I hate that shit. Okay? When people lose, one thing that like pisses me off is when people do this kind of like have this attitude like, and again, this comes from belief, like a creationist belief, which is like something else outside of me is doing this to me. Like And it's like, no, 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 no. It's fucking you. It's seriously you. Okay? And that's where that woe is me attitude, that stuff, whew, I can't stand it. Okay? I gotta go for a walk. I gotta go for a lap, come back, and then talk to someone. I can't do it. Okay? Don't think you know it all. There are people who are still losing traders who think that they know shit. Okay? When you lose, be fucking humble about it and just understand that you fucked up and that's okay. That's what makes life great. I mean, nobody knows really anything until they do something and they say, "Ah, that really didn't kind of work out for me. I probably shouldn't do that again." You know? You don't want to beat a dead horse. Don't ignore rules and risk management. Okay? Some classic things that people will do is move their stops around when they should just take their loss. Okay? So, this may seem obvious, I know, but I promise you, most of you will do any of all of this. Okay? So, this is an old school graph, but it's one of my favorites. So, this is what I call the master plan of what new traders generally go through. And people who generally win, and people who don't stay humble, and people who don't fucking self-sabotage themselves. Okay? Don't self-sabotage yourself, please. Okay? If you're winning, great. Just accept that you're winning. Don't accept it for anything more or anything less. Don't sit there and say to yourself, when will this end? Okay? Terrible mindset. Don't sit there and tell yourself, when will this losing streak end? Okay? So you gotta be like me, which is a person that's not really over the top and not really too down on his luck, just kind of blah. Okay? Don't care. My general like state of mind is not that I don't care in terms of like I don't care about people, but I just don't care that much about. I just do things. Okay? Like I don't really sit there and I think about all the things that could go wrong. And I mean, I think about those things, but I don't know. I'm very even keeled. Like I don't really think about too much and I don't think about too little. Like it's like kind of try to be Goldilocks. All right? That's the best way to describe it. And when you're winning or losing, you have to have the same attitude. My attitude is the same whether I'm losing or I'm winning. Do you understand that? Okay? Because it's yes, it's working. No, it's working. That's it. That's all I can do. Okay? But you don't want to be on this, which is the roller coaster of you put on a trade, you're like, damn, I'm fucking smart, especially for you people who have never traded before. You don't want to go through excitement. You don't want to be thrilled. You don't want to hit fucking euphoria. You know you're hitting euphoria when you're like, this shit is going to the moon. And you really believe that. Okay? I don't want to harp on anyone, but there have been traders who have had a 300% return on their money. They didn't get out of the position. It came all the way back into their face and they lost money. That is a person who I literally told, dude, you're being euphoric about this. You should have taken some off the table at 100%. You should have taken some off at 200%. At what point? Because euphoria hits when you think that nothing can go wrong and it's just going to go up and up and up and up and up. That's the housing market crisis right there. It is a 3-year euphoric bullshit state. It's a bubble. Euphoria is always a bubble. Okay? If you ever feel that way in life, okay, you need to pop your bubble and come down real hard on yourself, because if you don't, trust me, something's going to do it to you. Okay? And then what usually happens is the bubble pops, you hit anxiety, denial, fear, depression, panic, and you end up all the way down at this like capitulation, depression phase. Okay? Now, this down here has great power to you. This is where strength comes from. Okay? Inner strength. Inner understanding. Okay? When people hit rock bottom. Because people who hit rock bottom have two choices. Nothing can be worse than what's currently going on, right? And anything can be better, right? So, this is where I usually find students who don't listen to anything I've just told any of you all, okay? And then they go through this by themselves, okay? And then what happens is this is where the true trader is made, because they decide, yes, I want to keep going because I'm a dumbass and I didn't listen to anything that Matt said, and I didn't listen to anything I've ever been told because I just didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to feel good about myself, okay? If you want to feel good about yourself, this is market is not the place to do that, okay? And this is where they either choose to go on or they don't, okay? So understand that there's some power down here. There's some great power down at this low end of the curve. Okay? So now I'm going to focus in on really kind of new trader psychology. All right? So new traders often struggle with the following, which leads to the explanation of X. Okay. Premise one. This is something that I don't care if you tell me, Matt, I don't believe in a holy grail. If you say certain things to me, I will tell you, you believe a holy grail exists and it doesn't. Okay? I've had people in my chat room who have been with me for 3 years. And I talk to this person, meaning I get on the phone with them and I chat with them. And they tell me the same story every single time, meaning I'm working on this, I'm working on that. They've done nothing in terms of action. What is that person looking for? A holy grail. Okay? Don't fucking kid yourself. You're not going to fool me. You can fool yourself all day. Okay? But understand, do not have the mentality that there's like this one thing that exists. When people, here's a person that thinks holy grail exists. What's a good trading setup? What's the best trading setup? That is nonsense and bullshit. Why are you even asking that question? Because there's an infinite number of possibilities that work. Okay? You have to do the work to find that shit. All right? So there is no best trading setup. There is no best this. There is no best that. There is this thing called the market, and there's 1,000 different ways to look at it. And there's 1,000 different ways to come up with systems, and there's some hope in that, guys and gals. There is no just one way. Okay? You shouldn't want to have a holy grail, because if that was the case, then what the hell are we all doing? That's not fun at all. Okay? So, this leads to most traders to realize the following. But I'm telling you, there are people who, 4, 5, 6 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years that I've talked to who have not waken up from this illusion. Okay? I can't tell you to wake up from it. Like, that doesn't work. I don't know why. It just doesn't. All right? But eventually, when they pull their head out of their ass, all right, what happens is they realize, oh shit, I need a plan for how I'm going to trade. I need to possess goals for trading. Okay? Now, the first thing that people will look at is some kind of monetary goal. This is bad. Okay? But then you'll quickly learn that this is deceiving. And this kind of like, I don't know. Have you guys like seen people like tell you like to make $1 million in a day, like you only need to do this amount of money, or I'm sorry, make $1 million in a year. You need this amount of money in a day or a week or whatever, right? You guys have seen all of that kind of bullshit marketing probably, but you'll realize like that kind of stuff doesn't work. Like it's not sustainable. It's not going to sustain you. And this is your first aha moment. And then you'll come to terms with the random outcome of each trade. No matter how much you study and plan, every trade you take is unique and would appear on the surface no better than 50-50. And you got to define your risk to get your desired outcome. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You are always in the state of risk. You're always going to be able to lose money. Okay? Another thing is expectancy. And there's a mathematical way to define it, which is the average win times your win percent minus the average loss time your loss percent. And this is how you would account for your expectancy, like what your expectation of whatever it is you're doing. All right, that's a mathematical way. And you can then find some granular information, such as you can improve your targets or better percent wins. But the point is really you need to know the potential return on the next trade using expectancy to help plot and track a path on your journey. Knowing expectancy also gives you a goal or a focal point to shoot for, and you can measure it at the end of the week. Okay? Now, for some of you, 10% of the population, this is going to work for you. 90% of the population, this isn't going to work for you. Do you know why? Because anytime you bind someone to something, if I tell you, you need to make, I'm binding you with words, I'm telling you, you need to make $1,000 a week. If I put that stress on you, for most of you, you're going to fall on your face. Because if you don't hit that goal, you're going to start going inwards, okay? You're going to start self-sabotaging yourself. For a lot of people, and this is counterintuitive to whatever is fucking spouted out on the internet in our little microcosm of traders, which is like you need to have big goals. That's bullshit. For a lot of people, it doesn't work, okay? The only thing that works for most people is just a process, and just leave it at a process. That's it. Don't worry about will I lose or will I win. Just do it, and whatever outcomes. Okay? Letting go, essentially. All right? So, but you can do it this way too. You can try it this way. But for some of you, it isn't going to work. So, but you need to have an expectation. Okay? Because if you don't have an expectation or an edge, okay, for the win or loss percentages of what your expectancy is for the day in any given trade or trading day can hurt you in every trade you take. Because if you don't have an expectancy, you're just trading random noise. Okay? Meaning if you don't have an edge of why you're doing what you're doing and you don't know the probabilities of why that's doing what you should be doing, then you're just trading randomly. Okay? And in other words, a way to phrase this same thing is like, what are you expecting from the trade, and what will you do if the expectations do not meet the market? Okay, for me, that's a simple question to answer. I'm going to take a fucking loss. Period. Okay, it's either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. Those are the only two outcomes. Okay. And you hear me talk about a lot about edge probably, but edge is simply the probability of one thing happening over another. That doesn't mean that these two things are mutually exclusive. It means they both exist at the same time. So there's a probability of this can happen, I win, and there's a probability I can lose. Period. Okay, if I'm not comfortable with the opposite side of the edge, all right, the slicing point of the edge, if you will, then I probably shouldn't be doing it. Okay? So, some things you need to ask yourself: what will you do when you enter a trade? Where would you put your stop loss be? Are you an all in or all out kind of trader? Are you scaling in? Are you scaling out? Where will your target be? Is this a reasonable distance? What is the focus of your strategy? Okay, these are all questions in no particular order. Okay, so, but really the root of everything comes down to you've tested, you've traded, you've come to a point of like, yes, I want to do this, and now you just got to do the damn thing. Okay, because if you test, if you know your edge, you're going to know all of this information. Okay, so another thing is to think about when you're creating a strategy is you should try to minimize your risk and maximize your profits. That's obvious, but that's generally hard to do. So, for those of you who don't, maybe you're not doing the quant class in Remix Part 2 and you're just going to be a discretionary trader, okay? You need to do the same freaking thing at least 50 times, all right? Minimum is 30, all right? And you need to do it over and over and over again with the same stop loss, the same trigger, the same follow through, all of these things, okay? And you need to record it. And then you need to ask yourself, is it working? Okay? So, do not come to me after 5 or 6 trades and tell me something is not working. I will metaphorically slap you. Okay? You can't tell me what's working and not working. Okay? You have to, unless you have a decent sample size. All right? So, some things you need to be careful of is not entering when you have a signal, entering and then changing your trade. So, if you do any of these things, let's say you come up with like a discretionary system that you're trading that you like, that you want to test out, or whatever it may be, if you alter any of the following, then you need to restart your evaluation. So if you skip a signal, meaning you look at it and you're like, I don't want to take that signal, but your signal of whatever rules you came up with say take the signal and you don't do it, then you need to start over. So entering and then changing your trade management plan. So this means like basically, you're in the trade, you're saying I'm going to take this stop, and then it comes close to your stop, you move your stop or you cancel your stop. Okay. Chasing a planned trade. So let's say you wanted to get in at X and it moves past X and you're just trying to buy at whatever price, that can alter the results, or you're impulsive and boredom trading. So basically, essentially, if you choose to change your trade plan, then you must start a new sample. Once you go through this process, you will find yourself a little bit and start to understand yourself. And really, the ultimate goal of any kind of system testing or discretionary trading and doing the same consistent thing over and over and over again is just to build confidence in yourself. Okay? Because confidence is not going to come from me, it's going to come from you. All right? So, 5 ways to master your emotions: challenging your thinking, have another trader hold you accountable. You guys can trade together. If you're in my room or you guys go on Skype or whatever it may be, have someone hold you accountable. Have someone that's also your friend and isn't a douchebag too. Okay, you need someone to like be there for you. Does that make sense? But also to the point of not coddling you. So someone who's just, to bounce ideas off of, and be there for you. Commit to a trading rules, a trading plan, and trading your conceived edge. If you can do these 5 things, you'll be okay. All right. Are there any questions on any of this stuff? Did you enjoy this stuff or did you find it too unspecific? I almost lost my voice. Man. All right, let's do it a simpler way. Hold on. Cool. And then like I said, am I a Capricorn? Yeah. And like I said, please understand, like I hope I didn't really like offend anyone, but do you understand like how belief is important though, at least? That was my main thing, like getting that across. So, it's always a touchy subject. So touchies.